Hey guys, how we doing? Brian Stevens here with the National Real Estate Post. Oh, I hope we're all having a good day today. All right. All right. I don't know. I don't know if I really mean that. I guess it certainly beats the alternative. So in that sense, I hope that we're having a great day today. Hey, listen, if you have any questions, you can certainly go ahead and send me a text. That's my cell phone number right there. If you want to subscribe to my show, you can go ahead and hit that QR code and subscribe to my show. And of course, sharing is caring, because we're going to talk about some great stuff as we always do. The first thing that I said, which was very vitriolic in nature, was that I think Zillow hates you. And then my question I posed to you, why do you love them if they hate you? I still to this day, I'm perplexed why any real estate agent in this country would ever give them $1 for any reason. And I think we got a little bit more anecdotal evidence as to why you shouldn't. Not the least of which is, I really wonder who is behind these lawsuits. Who is behind the lawsuits? Ask yourself, these real estate-based lawsuits, who benefits from these lawsuits? Who benefits? Well, the answer is very easy. Fintech companies like Zillow, they're the ones who benefit from these lawsuits that real estate agents and real estate companies are up against. See, here's the whole thing that real estate agents might not understand. Right now, you lost the lawsuit. You got to pay $1.8 billion to the state of Missouri alone. That's going to sink the ship of every real estate company in the country, because you guys simply don't have the money.
You're live on the post, not your personal.
There you have it. Live on the post. Nice to see you, post people. Okay. So basically, you lost the lawsuit. So what this is vindication for everybody saying, aha, you see, my real estate agent screwed me over. I knew it. And of course, they never thought that before. But now there's vindication, and vindication comes with a check. They're only going to get about $20, but it doesn't really matter. And it doesn't matter because you got slandered and you lost. And real estate agents suffer the consequence. And the idea is that when somebody else is thinking about their house buying and selling needs going forward, they're going to think of somebody other than a real estate agent, because you now have become the villain. Now, let's say that this whole case is overturned. And I've got it on pretty good authority that it is going to get overturned. The jury deliberated for an hour. They didn't ask for anything. And frankly, they didn't look at the facts of the case. They did not do that. I've talked about this before. There is a case that was brought just like the one in Missouri that was brought in Illinois, and it was thrown out. The judge threw it out. There's no merit to this case against real estate agents. This class action is BS. But now we've got it over in Missouri. The DOJ, the Department of Justice, actually investigated real estate agents and decided there was nothing there and dropped the case. The Biden administration directed the Department of Justice to pick this back up and continue an investigation, and encouraged what we now know to be the case, where the real estate brokerages lost, the National Association of Realtors lost, the multiple listing systems lost. We know that's the case now. But anyways, if this gets overturned, you're going to lose anyways, because now those same people in these class action lawsuits are going to say, aha, my real estate agent screwed me again. First, they screwed me by taking my money. Now they screwed me by getting this case overturned. Doesn't matter. The idea is not about the lawsuit, people. The idea is about smearing and slandering what you do for a living. You see, because these fintech companies, they're the ones who stand to benefit by what's taking place right now. If consumers, by and large, make a migration away from traditional real estate transactions and start moving over to the fintech alternatives, they've won, and that's what they're looking for. You see, they are backed by billions and billions of dollars. Billions. Zillow had a market cap of $52 billion. Massive, massive amounts of money. It's a fraction of that now because real estate agents kicked their ass just a couple of years ago. But you want to see, you want to know something. Wall Street doesn't invest billions and just walk away so easily if they've lost a fight. They've invested billions because they want the trillions that are the United States housing market, and they're coming back for a second round, and they're winning. So the question then becomes, why are you as a real estate agent, why are you participating with a company who intends you harm? Now, I want to share something with you. This is what you have to understand, and this is extremely important. Did you know that in the last couple of months, Zillow has already shifted their marketing? Right when this lawsuit went down, it's as if they had these commercials made. They've already put out a bunch of commercials, and they've made a subtle, nuanced little shift that tells me that they've got their hands in this mud. Let me share it with you. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. We'll get to this in a moment. right over here. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but I want you to check this out.
Are you two Zillowing mansions with
Are you two Zillowing mansions with bowling alleys?
bowling alleys?
No. Yes.
Well, here's the thing.
Zillowing doesn't just mean looking at how.
Zillowing doesn't just mean looking at houses.
Now you can Zillow an agent.
Now you can Zillow an agent. They're controlling you.
Trish.
And you can even Zillow, wait for it, a home loan. So
You can Zillow your home loan.
Zillow your beautiful selves into that place
You can Zillow your beautiful selves into your dream home. Do you see what's taking place here, people? Is this making sense to you? What Zillow has effectively done is they've changed the vernacular, haven't they? They've changed the words that are being used. They're getting away from anything that is connecting them with traditional real estate. They're using the term Zillow right now, where you used to have the term search before. Why are they doing this? Well, certainly for branding purposes. If you ever read the book Primal Branding, which is great, if you haven't, you should read Primal Branding. One of the things you want to do in brand creation is you want to change the language. Like, for instance, like if you don't go get, you don't, when you go to In-N-Out, you're just going to In-N-Out. You don't say, I want to go get a hamburger. Hey, where should we go? Let's go to In-N-Out. No, you say, I'm going to go to In-N-Out. Everybody knows what that means. You don't order a hamburger, you order a double-double. That's what you order there. You get it animal style. That's what you get when you go there. They've changed the language. Oh, by the way, the term broker or bettors, there's a wholesale company who wrote that to $16 billion. It's changing the language that people are using as a form of control and manipulation. Zillow 2 months ago decided that they were going to change the language of the game. They did something that, frankly, I don't think they could have gotten away with 5 years ago. Because 5 years ago, what you're doing is you're changing the language that your real estate agents who you're taking money from, whose business you covet, are using, and it's really kind of a snubbing your nose or a smear at them or a smear at that industry. They wouldn't have had the balls to do it 5 years ago, but they're doing it now. Why are they doing it now? Well, because there's blood in the water and it's time to act. So they've come out with these huge campaigns where they're changing the terms of the language, and it's really to give distance between them and you. And yes, it's by design. If you think any of this stuff just happens with $1 billion company, that they haven't thought all of this through, and you think the timing is just coincidental, you're out of your mind. But let's just get away from that for a second. I want to share one more thing with you, and I thought this was interesting. Now, there's a gentleman online right now, and this is who it is, Albert. I just met Albert today and did an interview with him. Albert decided that he was going to read the quarterly report from Zillow, and he was going to share the highlights with us. And I got to tell you, Albert did a great job. He did an absolutely fantastic job. And he concludes with this. He says, 2024 is going to continue to be a challenging year for realtors, and we will continue to witness a lot of realtors leaving the business. For the consumers, I do believe that things are going to look up and be brighter times ahead. Oh, hold on. Maybe he had a different post in here. He might have had a different post. Anyways, let me get back to my point here. The point of his post was, he said, as a real estate agent, if you have a budget to spend, it's going to be more effective for you as a real estate agent to take your money and invest it in yourself rather than taking your money and investing it in Zillow. Here's the reason. Albert, for the past umpteen years, has spent somewhere to the tune of about $1,200 to $1,300 a month on Zillow. Okay? Or $12,000 to $13,000 a year on Zillow. And so he was spending a little over $1,000 a month. Now, the thing is, he goes, I probably made a little bit of money, but he didn't make much in the process. No, excuse me, I've screwed this up. He said $17,000 to $18,000 a year is what he was spending on Zillow. That's right. You'll see it on the interview that I'm going to put out. $17,000 to $18,000 a year. It doesn't change the point. He goes, if I was spending $17,000 a year, he goes, I was closing deals, so it felt pretty good to me. But at the end of the day, he goes, I think I made $18,000 off the $17,000 that I spent. So is that a good use of your time, your energy, and your resources? You spend $17,000, you close a couple of transactions, you make $18,000. Is that worth it? Well, the answer is no. The answer is no, because here's the deal. If you don't market with Zillow, you're $18,000 ahead of the game on day one. because you don't have this huge expenditure, which is essentially just offsetting itself. In other words, if he's spending $18,000 a year on Zillow, that means he needs to make $19,000 just to make $1,000 because of that expenditure in place. So the question is can Albert then go out there and spend that money or spend those resources in other areas that are going to be more beneficial to him? And lenders, listen up, because this is the same type of shit for you. This all goes down to the idea of buying leads. Now, let's break this down for a second here. If you buy leads, okay, Albert figured out that the conversion ratio on Zillow leads are going to be about 2 to 3% when it's all said and done. Now, 2 to 3% from a conversion ratio is warm body conversion rate. That's all it is. 2 to 3% conversion ratio is a cold lead. That's all it is. There is nothing exceptional about 2 to 3%. You should be able to get 2 to 3% if you're to open up what used to be the old proverbial yellow or white pages in your phone book. 2 to 3% is not what you're looking for, is not what you need. But here's the deal. You spend the $17,000 to $18,000, you get a bunch of leads. Now what are you doing? Think about this, think it through. You're calling a bunch of people that you don't know and they don't know you. So you haven't established any rapport. You haven't established any trust. You haven't established what needs are. You don't have any familiarity whatsoever. And these are all vital components if you want somebody to work with you on a real estate transaction. It's a fairly big transaction. You're not buying a pair of shoes or a book or getting something off of Craigslist. We're talking about a house. We're talking about a mortgage where people tend to be a little bit more discerning. And I'll tell you this, there's a whole bunch of people who can write those loans and sell that real estate. And in a world of parity, what are we going to do? We're going to work with that person who we already know, like, and trust. So you have to establish getting known, getting liked, and getting trusted before you can even discuss what the hell they want to buy or what they want to sell or what their needs are. That is a labor-intensive and extensive process for you to do, isn't it? It's big. It's huge. So there's an enormous amount of time doing that. So if you do get that done and you have a 2 to 3% conversion ratio, what do you have at the end of the day? You have somebody who you by and large don't know too well. So you're not building up any brand equity. Zillow's building up the brand equity, remember? Because they Zillowed you and they're Zillowing their mortgage and they're Zillowing their real estate. And don't you want to Zillow everything? They're the ones building brand recognition, and you are buying and you are riding the coattails of that brand recognition, and you're doing shit for your brand. Absolutely nothing. Right? So that's what you get at the end of the day. An expenditure, an enormous amount of bandwidth that you have to spend establishing who you are in a process with these strangers, or the alternative, which Albert figured out he could do, is go to his local market and spend that time and spend that bandwidth. The time he would otherwise spend on the phone with people who aren't going to work with him, you know, the 98% of the people are saying no or not picking up their phone from those Zillow leads. He's taking that time and he's spending that time building equity in his name and his brand and his community. Now, here's the deal. Even if he gets a 98% blowback rate in his community where people aren't working with him, there's a hell of a chance that those people are going to start to register in their memory banks exactly who Albert is. So in other words, it's not a zero net gain like a Zillow lead. When he invests in himself and his time, he's building his brand and recognition. And you might talk to somebody today where that deal doesn't pay, but it might pay 6 months down the road because you are building familiarity with people who are going to the same shops and stores that you're going to. In other words, he can get that 2 to 3% conversion ratio without spending the $17,000, $18,000. He'll get it. He'll spend the same amount of time, but rather than working off of Zillow's brand, he'll be building his own brand. And when you do that, it creates something called a compound effect, another great book that you ought to read. A compound effect where those will start paying dividends for him down the road should he choose to continue marketing in the same self-serving fashion, not just for 2 weeks, but make this a permanent fixture of who he is as a real estate agent in his community. Investing in himself. What a novel fucking idea that one is. But what we do is we, for some reason, spend time, money, energy, and resources with companies like Zillow. And I just showed you the minute you guys got... Hey, give me 2 seconds, kiddo. I'll get it over to you. I love you. As my son had to pick it up. But we spend our time, our energy, and our resources right now enriching companies like Zillow. Why on earth would we do this? This one's kind of a no-brainer. Now, what you have to do as a real estate agent or a loan officer is you have to start to look at your business like it's an actual business and say to yourself, what are my expenditures? What are my hard costs? Not only in terms of money. Frankly, money is the easy part to spend. You need to think of your expenditures, your hard costs, in terms of your intellectual bandwidth and your actual time. Okay, I need to spend X number of hours a day, time-wise, engaged in specific activities. What are those activities? It's got to be outreach in some capacity, right? You have to know what you're saying, why you're saying it, and how you're saying it. We know these things. Okay? You have to be equipped as a real estate agent or a lender to answer or volley any questions that may come your way that would and should include things that you don't anticipate, as we would refer to as black swans. In other words, you're talking with somebody about what you think is going to be a primary residence, and the next thing you know, they're talking about their brother-in-law's land loan. Do you know how to do a land loan? Or you're talking about a construction loan. Do you know how to do a construction loan? Or you're talking about an investment loan. Or maybe you decide that you're going to bring up and throw it out there. Have you thought about taking this money rather than moving and investing in or putting that money into an investment property? As I said yesterday, increasing your real estate holdings and building your wealth. What about 2 units? What about 3, 4, 5, 6 unit complexes in your area? Have you thought about those? Can you answer those questions? This is the type of intellectual bandwidth that you have to be prepared for. Oh my God, Brian, this sounds like a lot of work. Yeah, it's called being a professional. Or the alternative, you could piss your money away with Zillow. You know, that company that's trying to put you guys out of business right now. I think it's a very interesting proposition because you are going to spend your time. Is it going to be Zillow? Cost money, not building familiarity, not building brand recognition? Or is it going to be invest in myself? Don't spend the money, so be ahead of the game. Build brand recognition and equity in yourself. Get the same, probably better conversion ratio. Which one of the two should I do? I don't know. It's pretty easy. And of course, I can just go down my diatribe for all the reasons that working with Zillow are not just bad for you, but they're also bad for your community. Same thing with all the other fintech companies out there. They're all horrible for your community. And I'd have this conversation, and I have, with absolutely everybody. But let me go through a couple of stats here with you, and then I will leave you guys on your way just because I got you here and I could go ahead and get away with it. Okay. This, by the way, Pods is my accountability group that I have that you could certainly reach out to me if you have any questions on it. We can bring this stuff to you in a private, or not a private setting, but in our group setting. But it's offline. But right now, here's where we're at in terms of what our new monthly house payments are versus what our average monthly new lease payment or rent payment is. Does anything strike you as a little crazy here? And it is wildly obvious what's going on here. That properties have become too expensive. But now I want you to look at this. Okay, on our left-hand side, what we have here is the average rate on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. This goes back to 1974. Do you see this? So 1974, here's the 80s. We know that. And then this whole drop down here. And then what happened with interest rates? Bloop, there. That right there, my friends, in that red dot, is all the craziness that has gone down, that has created all these superlatives and all this nuttiness in the real estate and lending landscape over the past year and what the Fed's doing. It's just that little bit in the red dot. But now it has been so significantly impactful to all of us that it should have a massive and drastic impact on what it is intended to do, and that is to keep inflation at bay or stop or reverse inflation, and that would include in our housing costs. So over here on the right-hand side, we have our median sales price on existing U.S. single-family homes. So what have they done since the same period, 1974? We're going up. We're going up. Now, this is 2008. That was the housing recession. And then what did they do? They marched back up. 2020, we were far surpassed our existing prices. And then look at how high we went. Now, here's what you need to know. What's in that blue dot right there, that is what that affected. So with our arrow in the red over there on 30-year fixed rate mortgages and what the Fed did by lowering their balance sheet in that blue dot on the right, that is how much it affected home values. In other words, for all the pain that we've gone through, it's had relatively little, if any, effect on a large enough scale, and in our case, it's about a 40-year scale. What we should have seen is that red line go down about just like that. Okay, that's what the Fed had intended, but it has not happened yet. Now, there's a number of reasons to think that we have not seen the last of this correction. There's a pretty popular theory out there to where the housing, and it's an opinion, you can look it up, it's where the housing industry cycles every 18.6 years. But I'm here to tell you, my friends, with what's taken place with the Fed's actions in the 30-year mortgage over the past year and a half has not had the intended effect on prices as we would have hoped or anticipated. Now, why is this important? Now, this is actually stunning. This graph is totally stunning. Check this out. The cost for a mortgage on a $400,000 house, and what we're going to do is give you three scenarios. That $400,000 on a 3%, 5%, and 8% interest rate. The grays on the left is the amount of mortgage of $400,000. That's your loan amount. The red on the right is the total interest paid. Look at the difference between 3% and 8%. It is drastic. It is not just significant, it's a total game changer, isn't it? Now, keep in mind, 2 years ago, we were at the 3s and now we're at the 8s. In other words, what I showed you here, where this needs to be affecting this because this should have done this and it didn't happen. Well, this is what we got as a byproduct for a policy that frankly didn't work out. We have an enormous amount of interest that's being paid by people who are looking at buying houses. And this, by the way, assumes a 20% down payment. Think about that. What you're looking at right now on a $400,000 mortgage assumes 20% down, meaning we don't have any MI, which is going to make that even worse. Here's another graph, which is pretty crazy. It has your median age of a home buyer. We got our repeat buyers up top. We have the age of our first-time home buyers, and then our blended buyers in between. You'll note here that since 2002, the age of first-time home buyers has gone from the low 30s for a first-time home buyer to over 35. And from a repeat buyer, we've gone from our low 40s all the way up to nearly 60 years old. The reason for this is obvious. It's property values and interest rates. Now, the average interest rate, we know what's taken place with that. It's gone down. And this, of course, is just as a means of fighting off what some people believe is going to be a recession. Now, I want to show you one more thing here. Let me go back here. Let me see if I have it. Let me see where I have it, if I do. Oh, hang tight. Hang tight. Now you're wondering, what is all this? Hang tight. There we go. Okay. So here's what's going on, guys. Our house payment is static. Okay, and everything that we can do, and everything that the Fed can do through their policies, is really trying to affect values through interest rates. And your values versus rates is just a teeter-totter. Remember, your house payment is static and it's not going anywhere. So when rates go up, values go down. But when rates go up and values go down, what happens to your payment? The answer is absolutely nothing. Because when rates go down and values go up, what happens to your payment? Absolutely nothing. Because you're making that payment, you're either basing it, you're going to pay your principal or your interest. One is going to be higher than the other. But all these two are doing is teeter-tottering and offsetting each other. Low rates, high values. High rates, low values. We teeter-totter back and forth. This is the only thing that's taking place. And what it's effectively doing is keeping your house payment exactly where it is. Or at least within a certain reason, or a certain bookends on that, isn't it? In other words, what the Fed's doing with their policies is not going to change anything that's going on with house payments or affordability. And the reason is because we have a finite amount of inventory, and until that inventory changes, nothing else is going to change when it comes to actual affordability for all of us. So anyways, guys, listen, it's a little past 4. I'm going to let you go. Edgar, thank you for jumping on. Sharing is caring. Reach out to me if you'd like to, and make sure that you... Yes, subscribe to our show. With that said, my friends, I look forward to talking to you soon. I hope this was helpful for you. It was certainly fun for me. We'll do it again.